Today's recipe calls for a ton of garlic and a little bit of shrimp. I'm going to show you how to make the best garlic shrimp dish, appetizer, snack, recipe, whatever you want to call it. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is peel and devein 1 pound or 453 grams worth of medium-sized shrimp. Luckily, the shrimp I bought has already been deveined, so that'll save me some time. If you're not sure what that is, you need to cut down the spine of the shrimp and pull out the little black streak that runs down the back. That's also known as the poop chute. To peel your shrimp, all you need to do is grab the hard shell and pull it towards the bottom or the underside towards the little feet. Once you've done that, all you need to do is pull the shell away from the body. It should come off fairly easy and in one piece. You can also pull the tails off if you wish. This way it's easier to eat later on. Once you've peeled all of your shrimp, you can discard the shells, or you can save the shells to make a stock for a soup or make a broth for some ramen. If you don't want to make that right away, you can throw your shells in the freezer and hang on to them until you're ready. Once you have all of your shrimp peeled, we're going to throw it in the fridge and move on to the next step. Now we can start prepping some of our other items. First, we're going to work on our garlic. I ended up using 2 garlic bulbs for this recipe, not the whole thing. I'm cracking open 2 and pulling out the best cloves possible from each one. In the end, you want about 10 to 12 garlic cloves, ranging in size from medium to large. If you end up with a bunch of small cloves, just use more of it to make up for the difference. Now we need to start peeling all of our garlic cloves, which can be a little bit of a pain. The best method to peel them is to take your clove and cut it right in half. Now that you have all of your cloves cut in half, we're going to cut off the little root end off of each piece. This does seem like a lot of extra work, but in the end, it's totally worth it, and it makes it so much faster to peel everything. Now that you have all of your garlic cut in half and the root ends cut off as well, your garlic skin should fall off or come off with ease when you go to peel it. Now that you have all of your vampire repellent cleaned up and ready to go, it's time to mince our garlic. There's a few ways of doing this. You can obviously use a garlic press if you have one. One of the methods I like to use is to take our garlic cloves and make 1/8 inch slices of garlic, so they're super paper thin. And once I have all the little sliced garlic, I like to make a pile of it and then rock my knife back and forth to mince it. Seems to work pretty well. The next best method to mince your garlic is to grab your clove and treat it like it's an onion, and you're gonna cut it from side to side, making about 1/8 inch sections on your garlic clove. Once you've done that, you're gonna turn it and cut it the opposite way, making small little baby cubes. Repeat the same process as before. You're gonna rock your knife back and forth to mince your garlic into small pieces. Use whatever method of your choice. Whatever method you decide to use, repeat the same process until all of your garlic has been minced. In the end, this is what your garlic should look like. Once you have that done, go ahead and set it aside so we can move on to the next thing, which is picking some parsley. You want to pick just the parsley leaves as much as possible. If you get some of the stems, it's not that big of a deal. They are edible, and not trying to brag or anything, but I'm pretty much a champ at picking parsley. We used to use this a lot at the restaurant I used to work at, and it was on my station specifically, so I picked a ton of this stuff, so I'm pretty good. Not trying to brag or nothing. You want to pick roughly 1/4 cup's worth of parsley leaves for this recipe. I'm using some curly parsley. You can also use flat leaf or use whatever you can find. You can also save your parsley stems and whatever parsley leaves you don't use for your shrimp stock or shrimp broth to make it even more flavorful. This is a huge bushel of parsley, and we're not going to use all of it. A great method to ensure that you're not going to waste any product is to grab a half sheet tray and a dry, clean kitchen towel and throw your parsley on top of that. Then you're going to ensure that all your parsley leaves are dry. You're going to let it hang out in room temperature weather on your countertop for a few days, and it'll slowly dry out, which will give you some dried parsley, which you can use for any recipe later on, like some soups, or use it as some garnish. Now you can flex on your friends and say you know how to make your own dried herbs. Now that you're satisfied with the amount of green leaves that you chose to use, it's time to finally chop our parsley. And the best way to do this is to grab your parsley and make a tight little ball, then grab your sharp knife and start to chop it. You want to release a little bit at a time. This way you can cut all the leaves into small sections. It's really important to use a sharp knife for this because we don't want to bruise our parsley, which in turn will make it a dark color, and we want to keep
that vibrant, bright green. You want to rock your knife back and forth like this, giving it the rough chop about 8 to 10 times, or until your heart is content with the size of your parsley. Now that we have everything prepped out, it's time to start cooking. You're going to grab your favorite, biggest saute pan ever, and you're going to add about a tablespoon of oil, or enough oil until all of your pan has been coated. You want to use something that has a high smoke point. I went with some vegetable oil. You want something with a high smoke point because we want to get this stuff ripping hot so we get that nice hard sear on our shrimp. You're going to crank your heat up to high, and we're going to let this warm up until it starts to smoke. And it's important that you ensure that your shrimp is dry because we don't want to add that moisture or water from our shrimp to our oil. This will cool it down, and it'll also make it super bubbly, which will splash that hot oil all over the place. Now that our pan is ripping hot, it's time to add our shrimp. It's important that you ensure that all of your shrimp is making contact with the saute pan. This way we get that nice hard sear on all of our pieces. Normally you don't want to overcrowd your pan like this, but since we're adding so many goodies to this, we want to ensure that everything tastes the same. That's why I highly recommend using a large saute pan. We're going to cook this first side over high heat for about a minute or two, or until we get that nice golden brown sear on it. Shrimp doesn't take that long to cook at all, so you want to keep a close eye on this stuff. If you end up overcooking it, then it becomes rubbery in texture. Now would be the time to season your shrimp with some salt. I totally forgot because I was too excited to start cooking, I guess. Now that the first side of our shrimp has that nice hard sear on it, we're going to flip everything over and repeat the same process, cooking it for 1 to 2 minutes or until we get that nice golden brown sear on it. You may need to add another 1/4 teaspoon or so of oil to help ensure that you get that nice hard sear on the opposite side of your shrimp. If you do, like I had to, just give your pan a quick shake to move all that oil around to ensure it comes in contact with everything. Now that you've cooked the second side of your shrimp for a few minutes, you're going to turn your heat down to a medium, and we're going to add all of our garlic to our pan. You want to ensure you get all of that stuff out of your holding apparatus because it is garlic shrimp after all, and we want as much of that stuff in there as possible. After you've added your garlic, you're going to add 1 1/2 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. You can use more or less depending on how spicy you want it to be. You're going to cook your garlic for 30 to 40 seconds or until it becomes nice and fragrant in smell. During the cooking process of our garlic, you're also going to be toasting your red pepper flakes to bring out some more of the natural oils that they hold to make it even more flavorful. You want to ensure that you give everything a good stir. This will not only help prevent anything from burning, but it'll also help spread that garlic throughout so all of our shrimp is coated in that delicious garlic. Now that everything has become nice and fragrant and delicious smelling, you're going to turn your heat off. We're going to add the secret ingredient, also known as orange zest. We're going to add the zest from 1 medium-sized orange to our pan. It's best to zest it right over your pan because when you do so, it is going to shoot off some natural sugar crystals and a little bit of juice as well, and we want to catch all of that flavor. You can also use a lemon for this. It'll work just as well, but I couldn't find any, so that's why I had to go with an orange, but it worked out perfectly. After you have your orange zested, you're going to add the juice from 1/2 of your orange to your pan. Once you've added your orange juice, you're going to give everything a quick stir to ensure that you coat all of your shrimp in that freshly squeezed orange juice and you can get to it before it all evaporates. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. To finish it off, we're going to add a few pinches of our fresh chopped parsley and give everything a quick mix. In the end, this is what your shrimp should look like. You're going to give it a quick taste test and adjust the seasoning as needed. I added a few more pinches of salt to mine, and I added the juice from the other half of our orange as well to give it some more flavor. Now that you have the flavor dialed in on your shrimp, it's time to start plating it up. So grab your favorite plate and you want to stack your shrimp nice and high and tall. This way we get the most aesthetically pleasing look possible. If there's any floating or extra garlic and red pepper flake in your saute pan, you want to scoop that up and throw it on top as well. This will not only make it look extra delicious on your plate, but it'll also add a ton of flavor when you go to eat it. Once you have all that done, we're going to garnish it with some of our fresh chopped parsley. This will give it a nice bougie look. You can throw this shrimp in a salad or over some rice with a veg so you can get a complete meal, or you can eat it straight out of the pan, which I highly recommend because you shouldn't waste time with any of that other junk because this stuff is super delicious and you just want to eat it right away. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy.
Now that our garlic shrimp is done, let's give it the old taste-a-roo. So looking at it, it came out looking super bomb and really, really tasty. It's got a nice little shine and sheen to it from all that butter we added. Then the shrimp itself got a nice hard sear on it. There's a ton of different colors going on for it, from the red pepper flakes, the parsley, and the garlic itself. Overall, it just looks really good. And yes, you can eat the little tails on the shrimp. For whatever reason, we don't do it in the Western culture, but it's not gonna hurt you. Our garlic shrimp came out banging. There's so many different flavors going on for it. It's nice and rich and fatty from all that butter we added. The shrimp itself also brings some richness to the table. That orange juice and orange zest we added to our shrimp helps cut through all that richness and all that fat. And it brings the slightest bit of sweetness as well, which pairs really well with the spicy red pepper flakes. And there's so much garlic in it, and it makes it super tasty, but it's not overpowering by any means. It's just perfect. The parsley adds a bit of freshness to it as well. Texture-wise, they're super tender and got that nice sear on it. That brings a little bit of caramelization as well. And the tail on the shrimp adds a little bit of crunch factor. Overall, these things are just super bomb. The shrimp is super easy to make. It makes for the perfect appetizer for any party, or you can cook off a whole bunch and throw it in your favorite pasta or throw it on top of your favorite salad. There's endless opportunities with this stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. I got a few more shrimps to go eat and maybe shed a tear or two when it's all gone because it's really tasty. So we'll see you on the next one. Super easy to make. Brings a punch. It's, I don't know what to say. I get a nice rich garlic flavor. Not a favor, a flavor.